After being hit by a car and suffering head trauma. The doctor warned I might develop amnesia. Jokingly, I asked the boyfriend keeping vigil at my hospital bed who he was. He paused before replying, "We're just friends." I stared at Ethan sitting rigidly in the visitor's chair. His expression cold and detached. The playful gotcha died in my throat as I realized he wasn't teasing. Had the doctor not called him, he probably wouldn't have come at all. Swallowing my hurt, I forced a smile. "Really? Well, thank you for your trouble then." He gave a non-committal hum, already glancing at his illuminated phone screen. "Since you're awake, I should get back to the office." Before I could respond, he stood and strode toward the door. His hand paused on the knob as he threw over his shoulder with manufactured concern. "Get some rest." My smile froze until the door clicked shut. No one knew Ethan and I had been dating since college. We'd moved to Shanghai together after graduation, joining rival departments at the city's top marketing firm. Young and ambitious, we'd kept our relationship secret to avoid office gossip. For promotions later, as competing team managers, disclosure became professionally impossible. I'd tentatively broached the subject of going public last year, but he'd always deflected. Now I understood why. The doctor had told Ethan my amnesia might be temporary. Yet despite obvious inconsistencies in his just friend's story, he'd chosen this lie. He didn't fear my eventual recollection because he simply didn't care anymore. The realization settled like lead in my stomach. Of course, this made perfect sense. How else could he pursue Lillian without complications? The cracks had started appearing months earlier. Lillian, the doe I'd interned from the Lee family, our CEO Lawrence's daughter, joined his team under the guise of keeping the heiress happy. When I found their newly connected music profiles last month, complete with deleted playlists from our college days replaced by K-pop tracks, he claimed market research. 2 weeks ago, working late on a remote project, I'd watched them post matching WeChat moments after conquering some British client. His caption, "Know thy enemy," paired with her "conquer all" signature line felt like watching synchronized swimmers perform our death knell. Now lying in this sterile hospital room, I finally saw the full picture. Our 7-year relationship had become collateral damage in Ethan's career calculations. The real injury wasn't my head trauma, but the quiet understanding that our shared history now meant less to him than currying favor with the boss's daughter. His previous WeChat signature was sailing to pick stone blossoms, hoisting sails to gather sea moons. Because my name is Hazel. I don't know if he thought of me when he changed our shared WeChat signature. Probably not. He never returned my calls or texts. Yet commented under Lillian's social media post, "Eat your meal before it gets cold, take care of your stomach." I pressed a hand against my own empty, aching stomach and turned off my phone. This marked the second time I tolerated his behavior. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days later after the doctors confirmed I was fine. Not a single message came from Ethan that day, though a bouquet of my favorite cappuccino roses arrived. Clutching those flowers, I decided to give him one last chance. Sitting in the hospital corridor, I called him. After a long wait, he answered. "Ethan," I asked calmly, "I'm being discharged today. Can you pick me up?" We both avoided mentioning the amnesia incident and our new just friend status, pretending it never happened. He stayed silent for too long before replying. "Sorry, Hazel. I'm swamped. Let me call you a ride? What exactly are you busy with?" My tone surprised even me, usually so accommodating. Now cutting through his evasion. We just wrapped our first major project. This was our downtime. When he didn't respond, I hung up first. A man's devotion, or lack thereof, couldn't be clearer. I remembered my post-graduation days, waking him at 3 a.m. with sudden gastritis. By the time I regained consciousness, he'd rushed over wearing mismatched left-footed shoes, one sneaker, one slipper, red-eyed and trembling by my hospital bed. "Don't laugh," he'd choked out. "When I found you collapsed on the floor, I thought I'd lost you. Back then, I'd smiled through my foredrip. Utterly certain, you're my safety net. How ironic. That same man now couldn't spare 5 minutes. I dropped the roses into a nearby trash bin. Not a fan of flowers? A stranger's voice came from behind. The man gestured at the discarded bouquet. My apologies, my driver caused your accident yesterday. I had to leave after contacting your emergency contact. Consider the hospital fees and these flowers my apology. Let me know if you need anything else. Bitter laughter escaped me. Even the flowers weren't from Ethan. My mistake. I told the stranger politely. I assumed they were from someone else. Returning home, I found Ethan on the couch. The TV played some vapid reality show he'd never watch. Glowing faintly in the dark, his phone screen illuminated that tender smile I hadn't seen in years. He didn't hear me enter. Ethan. The smile vanished as he flipped his phone face down. You're back? My gaze lingered on the concealed device. Let's talk. Our breakup unfolded with clinical efficiency, 2 pragmatic adults dissolving what remained. No raised voices. Just the quiet extinguishing of 8 years' history. He didn't fight for me. I didn't beg. We both knew, some fractures can't be glued back with nostalgia. As I packed my suitcase, his phone lit up with a notification, a new message from Lillian. I paused, remembering his panicked sprint through midnight streets for me. Those mismatched shoes. Then kept packing. Let her have the hollow shell he'd become. When I uttered let's break up, he didn't ask why. The silence stretched between us, and I imagined relief flooding through him in that suspended moment. After what felt like eternity, he finally murmured, I'm sorry. I didn't accept his apology, calmly outlining post-breakup arrangements instead. My steady tone and composed demeanor seemed to catch Ethan off guard. When I requested he move out promptly, he abruptly interrupted. Hazel, you don't seem upset at all. His brows knitted as those familiar dark eyes studied me with perplexed intensity. Men are truly absurd creatures. Even when they've fallen out of love. Even when they've secretly yearned for this outcome. Witnessing genuine equanimity somehow pricks their ego. Perhaps he'd expected tearful pleas. Desperate bargaining, the kind of theatrics that might have nourished his vanity amidst irritation. Meeting his gaze impassively, I didn't explain that my grieving period had already passed. It happened when he ignored my texts but promptly commented under Lillian's social media posts. When he deleted our shared playlists to stream K-pop ballads with her. When he introduced me as just a friend during my hospital stay after the accident. Long before this moment, I'd mourned the slow death of us while he and Lillian danced their corporate tango of lingering touches and after-work cocktails. Ethan had become like a benign tumor in my life, not immediately lethal, but left unchecked, destined to metastasize. There's no fear in excision, only temporary pain preceding healing. As he carried the last box past the threshold, I posed my final question, was it because she's Lawrence's daughter, Ethan? Or simply because she's Lillian? He turned in the doorway. That same arresting silhouette from our college years now tempered with boardroom polish. The bashful boy who'd stammered through confession under stadium lights had dissolved into this ambition-driven stranger calculating vertical climbs. People always reach for higher ground. Hazel. The answer drew genuine laughter from me. Then may you soar to great heights. Ethan. May every ladder rung satisfy. Something flickered in his eyes, perhaps the ghost of what we'd been, but it drowned in the tide of his aspirations. Don't hate me, he said quietly. I let the door click shut. Office romances offer no clean breaks. The Monday morning elevator still forced proximity with his cologne lingering near accounting. When my cab pulled up at noon, I spotted Ethan's team exiting for lunch. Lillian walked backwards, animatedly recounting some story, nearly colliding with passers-by until his hand darted out to steer her clear. His laughter carried across the sidewalk, brighter than I'd heard in months. Got a crush on the tall hunk? My driver waggled his eyebrows at the rearview mirror. Ex-boyfriend, I corrected. watching his expression shift to pained sympathy. "Doesn't bother me," I assured before he could formulate condolences. Bella nearly upended her coffee seeing me enter the office. "Hazel, you should have let us visit." Her eyes darted toward Ethan's empty workstation as we walked to my office. "About the Hong Kong project debrief." She waited until the door closed before blurting, "You know Albert's transferring to New York next month? Everyone says the promotion's between you and," her voice dropped. "But last Thursday, I saw Ethan embracing Lillian in the supply closet." Her indignation hung between us, the open secret of Lillian's lineage making this more boardroom strategy than romance. I curled the report's edge, dark amusement surfacing, while I'd stared at silent phones and hospital beds. He'd been collecting nepotism points in silk blouses. The realization tasted less bitter than expected. Some tumors, once removed, leave healthier tissue behind. But this was expected. I chuckled self-deprecatingly and comforted Bella. "Don't worry. Personnel appointments are arranged by upper management. We do our jobs where we're placed and let things take their course." Bella sighed as I lowered my head to review data. When Ethan knocked on my glass office door, I was genuinely surprised. In my mind, though our breakup had been civil without burned bridges, that only proved I was dignified. It didn't mean Ethan and I could casually chat like normal colleagues. Unless absolutely necessary, I assumed we'd avoid private interactions. Until I learned his purpose. He stood before my desk, his tall frame subtly assessing me. After a pause, he said, "Hazel, I thought you'd resign." His tone hovered between advice and warning. "We were together 7 years. Don't say I'm heartless. Albert's transferring to New York next month. One of us will be promoted to director. If I were you, I'd start planning an exit strategy." I stared at him, understanding perfectly. He was certain about securing the promotion and nudging me out preemptively. Once he became director with the chairman's daughter as his girlfriend, he'd likely force my resignation to avoid gossip. This was his kind heads up. I could accept a man's fickleness, emotions aren't worth testing. But I never imagined he'd abandon basic decency. Studying him like a stranger, I uttered my first curse. "Ethan, you're trash." He absorbed it silently. My first direct encounter with Lillian happened a week later. Ethan, who'd refused to disclose our office romance, now flaunted his relationship with Lillian publicly. Their lovey-dovey social media posts drew floods of colleague congratulations. Only our mutual college friends messaged me in shock. I ignored them all. Lillian appeared on an ordinary afternoon. With most colleagues at lunch or napping, I was grinding coffee beans in the pantry when she materialized behind me. I stepped aside, but instead of passing, she blocked my path with scrutinizing eyes. "I know you dated Ethan," she blurted. The petite woman with doll-like features stared up, disappointment flickering when I simply raised an eyebrow. "I saw his playlist named after you. Your secret romance wasn't so secret." She lifted her chin. "My father admires Ethan's ambition and maturity, says he's his younger self. Since we're together now, Hazel, your presence is inconvenient. I suggest you resign gracefully." Now understanding her intimidation tactic, I calmly sipped my coffee. "Miss Lee, all personnel changes require formal procedures. Are you here to fire me? Company policy mandates HR involvement for terminations." Her face flushed as I added, "Manager-level changes need chairman approval. Only Lawrence can fire me. You're just an intern overstepping boundaries." I left without glancing back. When Albert's New York transfer was announced, the chairman hosted a farewell banquet for all department heads. Bella looked queasy placing the invitation on my desk. "Whatever happens," my protégé vowed, "our team stands with you. If we can't stay, we'll follow you anywhere." I tapped the invitation against her forehead. "Remember my motto? Build bridges through obstacles." Besides, my smile sharpened. I won't be the one losing. At the banquet, Lawrence presided with Lillian at his left and Ethan beside her. The unspoken acknowledgement of their relationship hummed through the room as department leaders exchanged glances. I sat quietly by Finance Director Feign, engaging when appropriate. The evening focused on celebrating Albert's contributions and his new chapter in New York, the unspoken subtext of impending promotions hanging over every toast. After several rounds of drinks and dishes, when the formal greetings had subsided, Lawrence finally set down his chopsticks to address the true purpose of this gathering. The 50-something executive maintained the vigor of a man a decade younger, his sharp gaze sweeping across the dining table before he dabbed his mouth with a linen napkin. While we're here to bid farewell to Albert, his rich baritone resonated, there's another matter to discuss. I lowered my bamboo utensils, glancing up in time to catch Ethan's faint smile. The promising young associate sat perfectly composed beside Lillian, their golden couple image radiating from the executive table. I focused on methodically cleaning my hands with a warm towel as Lawrence continued. As you're aware, I've only one daughter. His voice warmed with paternal pride. When she graduated, I insisted she join the company incognito, no special treatment, climbing the corporate ladder from the ground up. Many of you have praised her work anonymously to me over the years. His eyes found mine across the flower arrangements. Hazel. He extended his hand. Come greet everyone properly. The clatter of overturned crystal shattered the silence. Ethan calmly righted his water goblet, patting spilled droplets with practiced composure though his knuckles whitened around the napkin. I rose without sparing him a glance, heels clicking across marble until I stood behind Lillian's chair. Miss Lee, I murmured courteously, if you'd excuse me. Someone gasped as pale-faced Lillian vacated the seat of honor. The dinner dissolved soon after achieving its intended spectacle. I lingered, imagining the corporate gossip tsunami while watching Ethan escort a shell-shocked Lillian to bid farewell. Mr. Lee. Miss Smith. His voice strained with forced civility. My father's keen eyes tracked their exit before rounding on me. You and Ethan? I met Lawrence's scrutiny with icy amusement. Stolen. Just like mother's position. The apple doesn't fall far from the homewrecker tree. Does it, Dad? The childhood title burned my tongue. His weary sigh surprised me. I failed you. Typical male nature. I shrugged, recalling Lillian's earlier taunt in the break room, how Lawrence claimed Ethan reminded him of his younger self. The comparison held merit. Both excelled at emotional demolition during upward climbs. The unspoken history hung between us like the chandelier's fractured light. My 8-year-old self haunting these very walls. Witnessing Lawrence celebrating Lillian's birthday while mother preserved dignity through divorce. Their tangled past of childhood sweethearts and betrayed marriages, Lillian's mother trading poverty for comfort only to return when fortunes changed. My mother's principled exit. Lawrence's lingering bitterness masquerading as power. Mom kept your secrets. I said finally. But I'll take what's mine, every share. Every board seat. Every ounce of respect that woman's daughter covets. My smile mirrored his boardroom ruthlessness. After all, isn't that why you groomed me? Beyond the tinted windows, Manhattan's skyline glittered like a circuit board. Somewhere in its maze, Ethan would be recalculating his path upward. I wondered if he'd finally grasped the game's true players and whether his ladder still reached my floor. Oh, same old story. I returned to the office 3 days later, more than enough time for even the juiciest gossip to run its course. Colleagues greeted me with practiced professionalism, their smiles fractionally warmer yet carefully measured. Workplace veterans know precisely how to navigate these waters. Their restraint allowed me to exhale quietly, mirroring their composed demeanor. Only Bella remained cross, pouting about wasted worry over my helpless damsel act. A seafood feast smoothed things over. As she cracked lobster claws, she probed, so you're the real heiress? What's Lillian then? I briefed her on the imposter situation. Her eyes widened. Unbelievable. Parading as the CEO's daughter? Disgusting. Half the office has been whispering about this. Mind if I set the record straight? Can't stand her high and mighty airs. I shrugged. Sliding her lobster meat. Public knowledge. Sheriff asked. By afternoon, Lillian's facade crumbled company-wide. At finance, I found Lillian fuming before Finn's desk. Personal purses aren't corporate expenses. Finn stated coolly, rejecting reimbursement forms. Lillian's glare could have stripped paint as she stormed out. Post-identity reveal. I'm shadowing all departments for operational clarity. Ethan remains manager. Lawrence still directs remotely from NYC. My promotion left a vacancy. Bella needs seasoning. So we headhunted an experienced manager. Congratulations flooded my inbox. Save 2 exceptions. Both Lillian and Ethan avoided me unnecessary given my crushing workload. Different paths. Different destinations. Lillian confronted me in the break room. Earlier arrogance replaced by venom. Hypocrite! Your mother walked away pretending indifference. Yet here you are grabbing assets. If you're so noble, why return? I chuckled. Darling, I'm reclaiming what's mine. That pained expression? Save it. Better counsel your mother on charming Lawrence anew. Pitiful decades of scheming netted you rent money. Don't worry. I'll keep funding your mother's entertainment fees. Her face cycled through rage hues before settling on spiteful triumph. At least I have your 7-year boyfriend. Trash belongs in dumpsters. I yawned. Their pairing made sense. Ethan's ambition and Lillian's social climbing deserved each other. Mutual exploitation. Mutual disappointment. Amusing. Really. Patience spent. I delivered my parting shot. This ends now. Lillian. Keep your head down. Or discover how quickly my courtesy expires. She looked on the verge of tears at my words. But unfortunately I wasn't Ethan. Never one for chivalrous gestures. I stood rooted in place, savoring the crystalline droplets trembling in her eyes, thinking how exquisitely beautiful human misery could be. Ethan's resignation came as no surprise. Frankly, I couldn't fathom any reason for him to stay. His exit formalities proceeded through standard HR channels without my interference, not until his final day, when he inexplicably texted asking for a conversation. What remained to discuss between us? That night when Lawrence publicly acknowledged me as his heir, Ethan had called too, claimed he was waiting outside my apartment. Coincidentally, Lawrence had insisted I stay at the family estate those days for networking tutorials. I never returned to my condo, nor responded to Ethan's messages. To his credit, he took the hint and vanished from my life. Until now. Perhaps farewells demanded closure regardless of reciprocation. I'd always admired his preternatural composure, that unflappable demeanor common among high achievers. He approached as if our history wasn't littered with betrayal. His chiseled features schooled into pleasant neutrality. Talk? He proposed at my office threshold. Silence stretched as he entered, offering a takeout coffee. We stood shoulder to shoulder before floor-to-ceiling windows, the city's glittering skyline mirroring constellations above. Remember our first day? His murmur carried through 5 years of memories, 2 starry-eyed graduates gaping at these very towers. Back when he'd burn with ambition while fetching coffee. Before landing that $1 million account through sheer grit. I still see him hunched over that hot pot table, face ashen from celebratory drinking yet eyes blazing. Hazel, he'd vowed through steam vapors. I'll build us a home here. The account got credited to his supervisor. His reward? A $300 bonus. We splurged it all on that broth-simmered feast. His voice cracking with disillusionment. When will we stop being nobodies? That night I swallowed pride and approached Lawrence. My mother hadn't spoken to her ex-husband since their divorce. Never touched his money despite the black card he'd given me. First and last time I begged for Ethan's sake. Lawrence's delight at my request curdled with condescension. If your boy can't handle basic corporate politics, he's no match for our family. Still, His casual praise at galas became rocket fuel for Ethan's ascent. Funny how competence and connections breed different kinds of ambition. The Crown Prince Charming started eyeing princesses elsewhere. How did we end up here? Ethan's present-day murmur snapped me back. I barked a laugh. Spare me the nostalgia trip. I respected your ladder-climbing pragmatism. But this? My gesture encompassed his carefully curated remorse. Don't degrade us both. His smile faded. Can't we at least be friends? The earnest act almost convinced. I betrayed you. You lied about your lineage. Doesn't that balance the scales? Balance? Ice coated my words. Your equation only works because I'm Lawrence's daughter. Ever consider my fate otherwise? The vision crystallized him canoodling with Lillian in corner offices while I got crushed by NDAs and non-competes. Career ashes swept under their Persian rugs. You think watching your mistress squander daddy's money on bad investments counts as karmic justice? His pallor matched that long-ago hot pot night. I smiled. All frosty professionalism. There's no balance sheet. Ethan. You owe me a debt no lifetime could repay. Checking my watch. I nodded toward the door. You should go. Later. At industry summits. I'd spot him on peripheries, the prodigal son rebuilding from scratch in rival firms. No longer close enough for casual greetings. Over dinners. Lawrence would mention Lillian's latest romantic disasters between wine pours. We never spoke of hot pot nights or broken promises. Some debts simply remain. I don't know when Ethan and Lillian broke up. But it's hardly surprising that two people who came together for mutual gain would part ways over the same. I held my teacup, gazing at the garden bursting with vibrant blooms. April's deep spring, another year had quietly slipped by. The past, with all its weight, now felt like a distant memory, as if a lone boat had long since sailed beyond countless mountains.